Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use the promo code DNVR25 to get 25% off. And those of you who know how delicious that CBD-infused and potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee can be, you got to subscribe now at StravaCraftCoffee.com. Get on that subscription. They'll give you 20% off every time. I'm your host, Drew Kreisman. I'm the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me in studio, wrapping up this series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, is Michaela Perkins, the newest Rockies beat writer down there in the press box, taking it in. And the Colorado Rockies, as I said, come out of this series with a win, two very convincing wins. Jon Gray, fantastic in the finale today. We'll talk a little bit later on about Senzatela, what he was able to do in the middle game, the offense showing out, Mac. But we do have to start, we're going to kind of work our way backwards, starting with this finale, the rubber match win for the Rockies. And you have to start in this game, I think, with the performance of Jon Gray.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wow. He had to have chugged a whole bottle of mustard before this game.
That's right.
Obviously, no cramping this time, so he didn't have to make an early exit, but he was phenomenal out there. He pitched 6 2/3 innings, had a no-hitter going into the 7th, only allowed 1 run on 2 hits. He walked 4 and struck out 5. So a great night for Jon Gray. A good day for Jon Gray.
Good day.
Like I said, definitely had to chug that bottle of mustard because he looked solid out there. It was interesting though, because he wasn't throwing his like A+ stuff, right? His fastball didn't have that velo that we're kind of used to from Jon Gray. He was really good with his off-speed stuff. His slider looked phenomenal. He got a couple guys with that curveball. You know, the home plate umpire didn't really help him out a couple times, but aside from, you know, his fastball looking like it dipped a little in the velo, everything else was pretty much an A+ performance. All you could really ask for from Jon Gray. He looked great out there.
Yeah. I agree with what you said. I thought throughout the game, he kind of had his B+, A- stuff. You know, definitely not his A+. The slider was fantastic.
So good.
Used a couple of really good curveballs. His changeup was okay. I don't think he threw it a ton. The fastball location was good, but the velocity and movement weren't overwhelming, didn't rack up a ton of strikeouts. I agree with your assessment that he got squeezed a couple of times. 2 of those walks in particular, I thought should have been in the strikeout column. It didn't cost him a ton in terms of efficiency and overall pitches, but when you can take 2 walks and move them into the K column, that's going to make your peripherals look a lot better. Overall, while he did give up a run and the no-hitter there in the 7th inning, it was a dominant performance. He really did dominate.
And of course, you know, the no-hitter had to be broken up by David Peralta.
Of course.
Classic. I mean, he came into this I keep saying evening. Michaela, it is like 4
That's
o'clock
the most
in the
common.
afternoon.
Welcome to being regularly on the baseball beat. That's the most common mistake. You'll hear Drew Goodman and Jack Corrigan make it all the time. It's tonight because you'll do 100 night games this year and more. But yeah,
but he came into today's matchup hitting .426 against Jon Gray. So of course it had to be him who broke up the no-hitter. But aside from obviously that, just a wonderful performance all around.
Yeah, really fantastic stuff from Gray. And really fantastic stuff still from the offense. They continue to be, better than advertised. They go out and put up a pretty solid run. We talked about it. Obviously, they started with getting, Clayton Kershaw. Then they get the home runs against Trevor Bauer going into that inning when that was all messed up. They come out and they get after Mad Bum. But here goes the offense again with another crooked number.
Yeah, I mean, between yesterday's game and then today's game, it was a great offensive performance from the Rockies. They just looked like, you know, they were watching the ball in slow motion come to them. And it was refreshing to see that offense because I think, you know, one thing I was the most worried about this whole season was going to be if the Rockies can proficiently perform offensively. And I think this series kind of made me feel a little bit better. But I think all around it was a really complete game and series. Like the starting pitching performed better and more up to the expectation of what I had for them. You know, the offense looked pretty solid. The defense, I think this was a great defensive series for the Rockies. They were solid. You know, the Rockies are the only team left in the league who haven't hit into a double play so far.
Right.
So, I mean, they've just got a lot going for them right now.
It's kind of surprising. I want to stick on the I had to grab my Breck Brew there, just for those of you watching. It's like, slight delay, got to grab this Breck Brew. I got the Mountain Beach, just for those of you wondering. But the defense, we saw one really bad play from C.J. Cron in the extra inning game 1 of the series that, there are about 5 plays in that game that cost the Rockies the sweep in this series. That was maybe, to me, the most egregious. But other than that, I agree with you. We saw some fantastic defense, including the final play in this one. Ryan McMahon with a really great play over at third base. Made another one today with the barehanded stop. Fuentes has been fantastic over there. Oddly enough, not to whatever, but the Rockies' defense at third base in particular has been really good so far this year. But you're right. Sam Hilliard made a fantastic catch today. So
I really like him in that outfield spot.
Yeah.
I think the Rockies need to put a little bit more faith in him and let him start out there a little bit more frequently, because I think he's going to be really solid in that position for the Rockies.
He's also swinging a hot bat early on. We've seen him hit, the big home run in the 4 the 4 home run inning, as we're going to have to start calling it. He's had some RBI doubles throughout. But yeah, I mean, everybody contributing up and down. One of the things that was kind of funny, Mac, coming into this one was that it really had been the Lost Boys, as I like to call them, right? Story and Blackman both came into this game in a little bit of a slump there in that first inning. Couple of power displays, maybe remind you just a little bit who those guys are, what they can do.
Yeah, definitely. It was great to see both Trevor and Charlie get off to a hot start this game. Both driving in some runs in that first inning. I don't think you can ever get too down on those guys, because they're just too talented for that. Like, they might go through a couple slumps here and there, but it's not I don't think it'll stay that way for long. Like, they're both too talented to, not be producing for the Rockies in the way that we both know that they can, and everybody else knows that they can too.
Right. And, Story has maybe been one of the more unlucky hitters so far this year. He's had like 4 warning trackouts already. Even the double he got there in the first inning, you're like, that was a 1.5 feet from being a home run. He's still sitting on an offer.
We'll squeak it over. It's so close.
Then Blackman comes just a little bit closer to almost hitting the home run, but still the RBI double. But, to see the Rockies get out to that start, and particularly Garrett Hampson getting it going at the top. There's been a lot of talk in the last couple of days. I saw it was on the broadcast today. Shout out to our friends over at AT&T Sports. Talking about how many pitches Garrett Hampson is seeing per at bat. Of course, he's showing off the wheels. He's getting these infield hits. He's stealing bases. He's become a very exciting player to watch for
Absolutely.
this team.
I mean, he's quick. He's a speedy guy out there. He can steal bases, and I think that's something that, aside from Raimel Tapia, we haven't seen a lot, especially last season from the Rockies.
Right.
So, him being quick is a great addition to the Rockies this season. And I think that one thing I'm the most impressed with Hampson so far is his ability to wait for the right pitch.
Yeah.
Like last season, he was very quick. Like he didn't wait for the right pitch. He just kind of swung at whatever was coming his way. Whereas now, seeing him this season so far, it seems like he's kind of developed that patience, that eye to wait and just like sit on a couple pitches so he doesn't, go too early. And I think he's really developed into a better hitter so far, and he's waiting for the right pitch now, which I always love to see.
I totally agree. There was the kind of funny story he told in the collective Zoom press conference. Was that today or yesterday, about how his mom had texted him and told him to be more aggressive. And I thought that was great, because his interpretation of being aggressive was to still wait for his pitch at the plate. You don't just go out there and swing at everything. But then now he's running all over the bases.
Yeah.
He's making things happen. Even today, like he had what looked like a routine ground out to the shortstop, and he booked it up the line and was out by like a half a step. And he was like, this guy makes even a routine out to the shortstop an exciting play.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So it did get a little bit shaky there at the end. Let's go ahead and talk about that. The Rockies, it looked like, were set up to get their second straight shutout, and then Gray gives up the run. Okay, you can forgive that. He's been so good. Guy hits a triple, slight misplay in the outfield. The run comes in. It happens.
Right.
But then a couple of runs do come in on Carlos Estevez. Gives up the 2-run home run.
That was a monster home run.
It was.
That thing was
absolutely blasted. And the club's got to go to the closer in Daniel Bard. there in the end. Now, are you frustrated by that, or are you more inclined to say, he hasn't been worked as much, so no biggie, or because I'm sitting there going, you don't want to use Bard in a game where you're up 7-1 going into the 8th, right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you wouldn't want to bring Bard into a game where you're up 6 runs. Unfortunately, Bud Black had to go to his closer in order to secure the victory this time, which, I think I would have been more upset if Bard pitched yesterday, but because of Senzatela's phenomenal performance, Bard didn't have to go yesterday because Senzatela went 8 innings. So I think I would have been more upset, if Bard pitched yesterday and again today. But I think Buddy made the right call with bringing him in. Obviously, Carlos was not on his A game today. He was really struggling out there. And I think, that 453-foot home run by Eduardo Escobar, who wasn't doing so well up until
He's
this
been
game.
Cold all season. Yeah.
Right. Kind of got to him a little bit. So I think bringing in Bard was the right move. And I'm not too worried about, this next series against the Giants with him. I think it's going to be all right. I think you kind of have to in that situation when you're up 6 runs and things start to get a little rocky in the 9th.
Yeah.
And we actually have Patrick Lyons joining us.
We do have Patrick joining the show so he must have been in on that Bud Black post-game presser. Can give us a little bit of information. That's what we count on Patrick Lyons for. There he is. There's my guy.
Patty.
Who? Patty.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting, notes from Jon Gray and Bud Black. I mean, Gray, a lot of questions coming in because this was, one of his better starts, kind of somewhat akin to that game back against the Padres in 2016, back when he was starting his career with those 16 strikeouts. He actually talked about that briefly, just mentioning how, now much more of a veteran player here in his career, has thrown a lot more off speed, whereas, as a young buck, he relied a lot on his fastball. And that was kind of the theme of this entire series with the D-backs, is that all the pitchers ended up throwing more off-speed pitches than fastball. Mm-hmm. And that was, a strategy, I think, kind of geared towards the D-backs, but at the same time, could be something that we just start to see a lot more from Rockies pitchers going forward.
Did anybody ask if he, in fact, ate 6 bananas and chugged a whole bottle of mustard before his start today?
Danielle, yes, from the Colorado Springs Gazette.
My girl.
Yeah, she's
good
great.
for her. She's fantastic.
First impression.
Yeah,
she did ask about it. John did say he had a peanut butter and banana sandwich, counting those electrolytes. So yeah, he felt good, which he didn't feel at the beginning of the game. Like he woke up not feeling great. Had a not so good bullpen session, which is usually the case, right? When you go out and you're about to make history, it felt like garbage in the bullpen before the game. And he said even in the first inning, he was kind of really starting to feel things up and was still warming up for the most part before he got into the groove. And it really wasn't until McMahon's big play, when was that, in the 5th?
The barehanded play? Yeah, 5th inning.
5th inning. It wasn't until then that he thought, okay, hold on, whoa, this could be a thing. Kind of took a peek at the scoreboard and kind of realized, okay, now maybe I can get pumped up. And he was still able to get a whole other inning, complete that and get through there. So you like to know that he had the wherewithal that, oh man, I got something going here. And it didn't throw him from his game. So that was, really, really nice to see altogether. And he got the MVP chain too. He was wearing that in the post game for anyone who saw. Just one of those little team rituals that they have that they give to, the player who had the most important game. They've been doing it the last couple of years. Just a big old chain with the interlocking CR on it. So it's kind of fun that he came through and won that award for the day.
That's awesome. What was and I get to use one of my favorite words, the scuttlebutt, about once the no-hitter was lost, either from John himself or from Bud Black, about how he handled the emotions of that, and obviously the run comes in. We know that can be a difficult thing for pitchers to deal with when they've had that, they lose it. He's not able to complete the inning. The scuttlebutt, if you will, Sir Lyons.
That question wasn't actually brought
really?
up. Yeah, I think just in general, there's a lot of that, just the positive stuff that kind of go on. It is a getaway day, keep in mind. So, Buddy was on the shorter side. They've got a flight. They've got to get to San Francisco. And it's not a typical getaway day because San Francisco is opening up Oracle Park. So we got a day game tomorrow.
And 3 straight day games.
3 straight day games with Herman Marquez back to the scene of the crime in 2019. So maybe he can have that no-hitter on Sunday. But yeah, so they had to be a little bit quick about it. And he just said, he's been having a lot more fun and not really worrying about, the radar gun, not really worrying about his fastball, because actually it averaged a lower mile per hour than it has in any start. So, he's not really sweating that and just kind of trying to work on placement, trying to work on that command. And you saw it today where, again, he got his fair share of strikeouts, not as many as he has in the earlier part of his career, but the bottom line is just not letting runs cross home plate. And whether you're getting strikeouts, whether you're getting groundouts like Antonio Senzatela, doesn't matter. Win's a win. And Jon Gray's, he's having a lot of fun right now.
It was cool to kind of see him get not really emotional, but he had a few moments where he got a little chirpy with that home plate umpire who was giving a hard time with his slider and calling those strikes balls. And I don't think I've ever really seen Gray be that way on the mound before. Usually he's very just like stone-faced, no emotion, but he was not happy with that home plate umpire today.
Yeah, I'd be curious, and this might be something that might come up this weekend. We'll see, is Dom Nunez behind the plate. I would guess he is, and StatCast does keep track of these things, like placement of players defensively on the field. I don't necessarily know they do that for catchers because they don't, shift 3 feet to the left like you would a left fielder, or, play on the other side of second base like a third baseman would. But nevertheless, I think he might be closer to home plate than normal. That's why we're seeing a little catcher's interference. He's getting hit on the top of the helmet on some of these follow-through swings.
Yeah.
And so that could also lead to maybe, losing some strikes here or there. Again, we still have a ways to go until we know definitively if that's the truth, but umpires are still in the early part of their season too. So it is tough. And thankfully that wasn't a factor today in whether or not, Gray got a perfect game versus walking 2 batters on pitches that really caught a piece of the paint.
Yeah, exactly right. It could have been more frustrating than it was. It could almost have been as frustrating as not being manscaped. That can be a little bit of an issue. If you're not manscaped, it's literally rubbing you the wrong way, and you don't want that. You got to be cleaned up. You got to be smooth. You got to be the best version of yourself, fellas, and that's just how it goes. You got to take care of you downstairs, and you get 20% off at manscaped.com when you use promo code DNVR20, whether you're getting that the lawnmower 3.0, you're getting a little bit of spritzer, a little bit of deodorant, the most comfortable pair of boxers you've ever worn in your life. You get Manscaped, so that way you're not out there feeling frustrated, irritated, and not at your best. You also got to get taken care of at Zoom Care. Go to zoomcare.com. You don't want to sit in the doctor's office. Nobody wants to sit in the doctor's office. It's irritating. It's just weird. I don't like it. I don't like sitting there with a clipboard waiting for weird stuff to happen. I never know what's going to happen. Go to zoomcare.com instead. They've got appointments for all kinds of stuff that can check you out. They've even got mental health care options. They're accepted by most insurances with a copay. So again, check them out at ZoomCare. That's ZoomCare.com. Get a little doctor's office if you're running into that Jon Gray fastball that's not as fast, but it's the slider. You're swinging over the top of that thing. Poor Tim LaCastro had no chance. No chance at all. All right. As I retrieve again my Breck brew for the day, we do want to get into more series-wide talk now. And why don't we go ahead and get into 20th and Blaze, because this will allow us to just talk about who's had the best series, who's doing the best for your Colorado Rockies right now. For those of you who followed us last year, you know these are basically the individual player power rankings. Who's hot for your Colorado Rockies? Coming in at number 5 on 20th and Blaze, your dude, your honorary dude, Michaela.
My honorary dude.
Chris Owings. He hasn't played in every game, but the games he has played in, he's been a major difference maker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he went 3 for 3 yesterday with a run and 2 RBIs. So he was looking pretty good yesterday. I think people kind of undersell the value Chris Owings brings to the team. And not only did he have, a great game against the Dodgers, but again against the Rockies. So he's been doing his part, I think, in my opinion, in helping out when it's time for him to help out.
He's looked fantastic, and he did last year too before he ended up getting hurt. And this idea that maybe Chris Owings could be a guy that really helps bridge the gap at least a little bit until some of the younger guys step up and take over those starting roles. He could be a good piece for them. Whereas we've talked about some of the veteran guys on a 1-year deal, how you might want to trade those guys away. Owings could be a player that really fits in with this roster for the next couple years at best. For the young guys are on the come up.
He's also got that kind of gap-to-gap swing that plays really well at Coors Field. He's done a good job taking the ball into that right center field gap, using his above-average speed to turn singles into doubles, doubles into triples, those kinds of things that play with the big outfield. And also his defensive versatility allows you to move him around. The fact that he swung a hot bat in Game 1 gave Buddy the opportunity to put him out there in center field in Game 2. And being able to move him around like that, it's going to be interesting. We'll keep our eyes on Chris Owings.
He's batting 500. So.
He is. When you have base hits in half of your at-bats, you got to make the list.
He's not necessarily the blueprint for Garrett Atkins because, again, we've seen players like that before. I did it again, Garrett Hampson. Similar sounding last names, too, as they roll off the tongue. But I think, instead of Hampson being that one guy going from second base to center field, Owings can also kind of help with Hampson's growth and maybe even field the exact same question. Just the veteran guy doing this very unique thing instead of Hampson just being completely on his own. So I think he provides that value in the clubhouse and in post-game interviews as well.
Speaking of which, number 4, Garrett Hampson. I saw him on the broadcast. They started calling these guys Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna argue with Goodman and Spilly. They know what they're doing. I think it works. They do provide an interesting 1-2 dynamic there at the top. But Patrick, we were talking earlier before you came on. Hampson seeing a ton of pitches, using his speed, really doing all the things that are in his arsenal to be a factor.
And he would be almost an even better leadoff hitter, prototypically speaking, than Tapia because he's right-handed. And we know that Trevor Story's going to be batting third. So, Tapia slides in at second. So that's kind of a perfect fit. It's good to see that he's been able to take more pitches, see more action. He's been, pretty deadly on the base paths as well with 4 stolen bases, one of the league leaders, of course. And he's putting the ball in play. He's making things happen, both offensively and defensively. So he's doing everything that's, being asked of him right now. He's cut down on his strikeouts, too. He's only struck out 3 times so far in 24 at-bats. 2 doubles late in the game that we saw on back-to-back nights on Sunday and Tuesday, 8th inning. So he's playing fantastic. 5 RBI. He can't really do much more than hit his first home run of the season at this point.
Yeah.
Him and Chris Owings have combined for a little over half of the team's total runs so far this season.
There you go. That's a great stat. Yeah, that's what you want from the guys out of the top of the lineup, and he's setting the table as well as anybody. All right,
in fact, those 2 guys together have 6 stolen bases, and that's why the Rockies are tied for 4th in all of MLB in stolen bases.
Boom.
Love
And
that.
that's something we talked about before the year. They have to run, and I like seeing that out of them so far. Number 3, Antonio Senzatela. This is a little bit of power rankings, recency bias. Obviously, he didn't look good in his first outing. He had basically nothing against the Dodgers. I want to say this real quick, too. I can see some people saying, well, he was bad in his first outing because he was against the Dodgers, and those guys are amazing. And he was great in his second outing because he was against the Diamondbacks. Those guys are terrible. But here's the truth about what Antonio Senzatela did. He would have been bad against anybody in his first game. You can't hang sliders like that, dude. You just can't. And he would have been good against anybody in game 2 of this set against Arizona. Maybe LA scratches out a run or two, sure. But Antonio Senzatela was fantastic in the second game of this set.
Yeah, absolutely. He was lights out. And this is only the 3rd time in Senzatela's career that he's shut out a team in 8 innings. Obviously, the other 2 were against the Cardinals and the Astros last season. And if the Rockies want to stay competitive, like, they have to get these kinds of performances out of Senzatela. Like, that is crucial for this team this year. And I think, his performance yesterday was night and day compared to his first time on the mound so far this season. Like I said, he threw 8 shutout innings and only gave up 4 hits and 2 walks. Like, what else could you want from the guy? It was awesome. And not only was he great in that sense, but he was also terrific holding runners when they reached scoring position, forcing the D-backs, to go 0-6 in that situation. So he was just, I don't know what else you can ask for. It was so good.
And even considering the fact he didn't have his best stuff, he's yet to give up a home run this season, as well as our another gentleman that will be coming up on this list in just a moment. But just he's been able to induce the ground ball, which is huge because you can't guarantee a strikeout. You just can't. There's only a rare few amount of pitchers that can just go up there and shove and strike a guy out. So he's been able to get those ground balls, I think, on Wednesday's game.
Yeah, he forced 14 ground ball outs yesterday.
And only 4 fly balls. So, wow. He's there. Like, that's going to be huge. Again, that's going to be big for inducing double plays. You get a runner on first and second base, he's just going to roll the 2 ball there really nicely. So Senzatela is a good pick for Drew. I think you had him as being the best Rockies pitcher this season, and so he's definitely up there right now.
Yeah, I had put in, and I was maybe a little influenced by our friend Corey Sullivan on the broadcast talking about how it was maybe Senzatela's best performance of his career. I still think that one against the Astros, coming against Zach Greinke, a better lineup. I still do think that's the best one. But this may have been the second best of his career, and for it to come in the second outing of this season when he was kind of handed that number 2 guy, that's the highest he's ever been in the rotation. I don't know what that means to guys or doesn't, but after a bad first start for him to go out and really dominate has me feeling better about, like Patrick said, my preseason pick that he's going to be very good this year, and that last year wasn't a fluke, that Senza can shove. Where are we at? Number 2, Rymack. Didn't do much today. They didn't need him to do much today. He did a ton in game 1, and they still couldn't get the W for him. But boy, does he look like a potential monster this year. A 3 home run game, was 14 bases in that thing. And then the defense we talked about a little bit before you came on, Patrick. I'll start with you on this one. Ryan McMahon, is the hype train leaving the station?
I think so. We saw it in late in 2018 when he was finally getting opportunities. 2019, it kind of all came together. Hit 20-plus homers, and then we all had him pegged to be an all-star in 2020. Well, they didn't have an all-star game, and he also never got a chance to really get into a groove. So that never came to fruition. So might be a year late, but he's finally putting it together. And the thing that I find most impressive about how he's been able to do it is that he's doing it from 2 different positions. And yes, when you step up to home plate, your position doesn't matter. But, that can take its toll on a young guy, not necessarily knowing where you're going to be at in the lineup and what position you're going to be playing. So we've seen him at third base. We've seen him at second base. And he's been able to produce so far amongst the best of them. 9 hits so far this year. So that's the most of any Rockies player. There's 4 home runs ahead of Dom Nunez, who has 3. We'll give him an honorable mention. And he's proving to be a threat in that lineup, and that's going to be big later on in the season if CJ Cron needs to move down the lineup, or if he ends up getting dealt, you can have a true number 5 hitter there, and Ryan McMahon batting behind Charlie. And once we get to that midway point, I mean, you could even say he deserves to be batting right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to see him consistently at third base. I think today kind of solidified that, just because he has been so great defensively at third. I can kind of imagine what was going through his head. Obviously, when the Nolan trade went down, he probably, started taking ground balls at third base, getting ready. Like, he's like, all right, well, I guess, I should probably start getting used to this position. And then when Brendan Rodgers gets injured, there's a question about second base, third base, how the Rockies are going to make that work. But I think today really solidified for me that Rymack should be getting more consistent starts at third base. And then, obviously his 3 solo home run performance 2 games ago, only the 18th player in franchise history to accomplish that feat. I think, he's going to be another key piece for the Rockies this season, and I'm really impressed with him so far.
One funny note that also came out from that performance on Wednesday night was, okay, so we know it's happened 18 times that a player's hit 3 home runs, but it was only the 22nd time a player had hit a home run for the Rockies on a 3-0 count. You would have thought it was a lot more than that, right?
Yeah.
I had heard something about that, and that actually blew my mind. I was like, no way. That can't
Willie
be right.
Rosario did it 3 consecutive times, or rather, I should say, no one else, since him had actually done that. So that was pretty impressive. So yeah, McMahon is, we knew he was going to be once Brendan Rodgers comes back, he'll kind of slowly get inserted back into the starting second baseman, and then Ryan McMahon will go over to third base. But Mikhail, you make a good point of like, well, let's go ahead and kind of start that a little bit early. But then that means you push out Josh Fuentes over playing time for CJ Cron. So it's a tough situation in a sense, but I think ultimately Ryan McMahon will get the bulk of the starts at third base when we look at the end of the year. Who started the most at third base? It will be Ryan McMahon eventually.
Yeah. Fuentes had a nice play at first as well today, and it reminds me, we talked about the Cron error before you came on, Patrick, in game 1. Other than that, defensively, the team has looked really good this series. It's something we're continuing to keep our eye on. Cron at first, the rest of them looking all right. But let's finish out 20th and Blaze. We can come back to that if you've got more thoughts on that. But we've got. I think this is kind of a slam dunk at this point. Jon Gray has given up 2 earned runs in his 2 starts this season. The first one was an inherited runner that Yency Almonte and Josh Fuentes kind of let in after Gray had been out of the game. And the other run that he gave up was he entered the inning throwing a no-hitter. And the guy gets a triple, single, run score. Baseball's hard. But Jon Gray has just been as good as you could hope for, especially after he was so shaky last year.
Yeah, just lights out. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say at this point. Like, this is probably as good as I could have hoped for from Jon Gray, because he is going out there and delivering, and he just looks so solid, which, I think the fact that the Rockies have a pretty solid 1-2-3 rotation is really great. Like, it's cool to see. He's awesome. And, we would be remiss too to mention that he is now 5th in strikeouts for Rockies pitching.
Right.
He is right behind
700.
Yeah, 704 career strikeouts after today's game. He's behind Pedro Estacio, Jeff Francis, Ubaldo Jimenez, and Jorge De La Rosa. So a big feat for him. It's just awesome.
Considering he had the no-hitter going into the 7th, all right, he gives up that run. Hey, that's better than Trevor Bauer did with his no-hitter in the 7th inning.
Right.
So, okay, hey, put a check in the win column for Jon Gray there. And going into this start, too, you kind of forgot that, hey, he, again, had those 5 innings and only gave up 1 run via inherited runner, of course, so he didn't actually allow that guy to get in. It was just, you remember the story about Obviously him having the full body cramps, and the Dodgers ended up winning that game 6-5 last Saturday with all the craziness and stuff going on. So it was kind of, forgotten about how good he was in that first start. And then you see what he does today, and there's no doubt that he shouldn't be number one after the first home series of the season. Top guy, 20th in Blaze.
Love it. And again, because I think he was of the starting pitchers that you expected to be decent this year for the Rockies, Marquez, Senzatela, Freeland, and Gray. Gray was the one I think had the biggest question, because last year he just wasn't great, and then he was hurt and he was done. And we just hadn't seen him since 2019 when he was mostly pretty good. So for his first two starts to come out and not just be solid, but he really carved through that Dodgers lineup. And again, today was carving through the Diamondbacks lineup without his best stuff. Whether you're rooting for Jon Gray to increase his trade value, or you want the Rockies to extend him, or you just want the Rockies to win the baseball game on the day he takes the baseball, this is all good news.
I love that. I think that's a great point, because, Gray is the oldest of the foursome, right, of those guys. And maybe Gomber, inserts himself into the conversation at some point. He obviously hasn't done himself any favors after his first start on Sunday. But Gray, has the best pedigree of all those four guys, but it just hasn't really come together over a long period of time for him. And with the other guys, Senzatela, Marquez, Freeland being younger, maybe even putting together better all-around full seasons, you're right. Gray's kind of this afterthought, and you go, he's going to be moving on anyway, so let's really put all of our hope with those other three guys. And yet, it's been Gray that's been their ace so far.
You could say he's been beefy. I can't help myself. It's been beefy. It's been phenomenal. And my favorite beef, the only beef in the world worth making special time for, and that's beef from Hassel Cattle Company. You get that Wagyu beef, it'll change your life. I mean it. Whether you're having just basic ground beef, ground chuck, you're getting their award-winning hamburgers, you get some steaks, whatever you're ordering from Hassel Cattle Company, it's potentially life-changing. You'll never need any beef from anywhere else ever again. It's HASSELL, cattlecompany.com. Enter promo code DNVR10 to get 10% off. If you do end up over $200, I highly recommend you do that if you got the freezer space, because they'll hook you up with free shipping. And again, 100% positive reviews on this. I have had 0 people tell me that it has been in any way disappointing for them to get beef from Hassel Cattle Company. I just put in a big order the other day. It's on its way. It's exciting. Just waiting for it to arrive at your house is exciting. That's the kind of anticipation of Hassel Cattle Company beef. I'm very much looking forward to. Not quite as beefy as Jon Gray, but my freezer will be beefy very soon.
We love beefy freezers.
Beefy freezers here. And one way you can make your wallet a little bit beefier, I'll tell you this, get over at DraftKings. I said on our pre-series show before the first game, I don't know if anyone took it, I said I had a good feeling about Dom Nunez hitting a home run. Lay a little bit of money on Dom Nunez to hit a home run. If anybody did that, they made some cash. Whether you're betting on baseball, basketball, football, hockey, lacrosse, I assume they got on there. I haven't double checked. I maybe shouldn't say that, but you can bet on, you never know. I wouldn't be surprised. You could bet on the KBO for a while.
Bet on the Masters going on right now?
The Masters. Well, obviously, right? That's the big one. Of course, golf people know. I don't know much about the Masters, but I'm going to bet on it anyway. Patrick, you Masters guy?
No, more of a minors. Senior tour. I'm all about I know. It's about the senior tour. I'm all about Tom Kite and Chichi Rodriguez. All those old guys. Lee Trevino. Yeah, I said it.
Chichi Rodriguez. That's a pitcher for the Rockies, right?
No, that's 2 pitchers for the Rockies.
But speaking of which, if you are into the golf, or even if you're not, you can download that top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up. You'll turn $1 into $100 if the basketball team of your choosing this week hits a 3 Basic stuff right there. You just need a team to hit a three-pointer. The basketball teams tend to shoot them these days. Very in vogue. So I highly recommend you download that top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code DNVR to turn $1 into $100 in free bets for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
So since we're talking about golf, Michaela, Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, no. Please don't
Are you
ask
familiar
me
with
anything about golf.
Jack Nicklaus.
Okay, Jack Nicklaus, the actor that's very good at golfing. Are you aware of this guy?
No.
Jack Nicklaus?
If we put
Okay, moving on.
a picture of Jack Nicklaus and Jack Nicholson.
Can we? Oh my gosh. You
Michaela,
guys.
do you seriously not know who Jack Nicklaus is?
No. Can we please make references that I actually understand? People are going to think
The
that I'm the
Shining?
dumbest human being on planet Earth, but you guys are literally just 20 years older than me.
I would like to preface, Michaela and I are the same age.
Whatever, okay? I spend too much time watching sports and reality TV. I don't need anything else in my life.
Right?
Not watching Jack Nicklaus movies like, the Witches of Eastwick.
When was
right?
the
I'm gonna Google him right
Also,
now.
Jack
when was
Nicklaus
the last
is
time
not
Jack
an actor.
Nicholson was in a movie? Because then we're all going to feel really
Kale.
old.
This guy? He looks like he's 85.
She's not wrong about either of them.
Why would I
would've-
know who that is?
I mean,
Michaela,
Jack
if you
Nicklaus
pulled
is the
up a
greatest
picture
golfer
of
of all
it-
time.
He was
but, like,
born in 1940. He's
Michaela,
older
if
than
you
my
pulled up a picture of
grandmother.
Babe Ruth right now, he would not look very good either, okay? But in their prime, Babe Ruth and Jack Nicklaus were fantastic athletes.
Well, I don't watch golf, so, here we are. My dad is very disappointed in me right now. I'm
Very
sorry,
disappointed.
Dad.
By
And
the
Jack
way, what's
Nicholson
that?
is from New Jersey. So, Kelly, I'm aware of the difference between these two gentlemen.
Can we help our guy rated rookie out? He's debating on whether to get a Purple Rain shirt or the Colorado Rakes shirt.
I vote for Purple Rain.
I mean,
that is what I'm wearing
Look,
right now.
just look, right here.
Okay, so you've got your two options. That's a tough.
Purple Rain is my favorite.
Well, the Rockies have been raking. They've scored, over 5 runs every game, I think.
They
so far
really
this season?
have. I mean, this is supposed to be the worst offense in all of baseball, and they're out here against Kershaw and Bauer and Mad Bum, and they're putting up runs. I will say, you have to. It depends on your person. If you've got a bold personality, like if you're ready to invite the debate, wear the Rakes shirt, because people will come up to you and be like, "That team can't hit," and if you're ready to back up, like what Garrett Hampson's doing right now, get the Rakes shirt. But if you just want I gotta say the design and the feel and a Prince mark.
Purple Rain is a goated
Purple
shirt.
Rain is, I also do, by the way, have a bonus DraftKings pick of the week for everybody because I am officially. I put my money down on the Cardinals to win that division. They're still +2. I'll get it exactly. But the Cardinals are still, you can get pretty good odds where you're minus on the Yankees, minus on the Dodgers, for example. I am fully in on the Cardinals to win that division. Mark it down.
Incidentally, Drew, you did mention something about Prince. Michaela, when you hear the name Prince, do you think
I
of
literally
Fielder
cannot with you people.
or someone else?
Prince, do you
Fielder
say
or
Prince or
Purple
Prince?
Rain. Do you know the song Purple Rain?
Yes.
Okay. Purple Rain.
the basketball player, Prince?
Yeah.
Right?
I hate you
From the
people.
Dave Chappelle show?
That's a 100% fair assessment. All right. Let's get to our series recap. One of the things that we're going to do throughout the year, talking about what we'll remember most from this series.
Wait, let's backtrack and hit King of the Game real quick.
Oh, we want to do King of the Game. That's right. We talked about him. He was also your leadoff on 20th and plays. We have to mention our draft King of the Game since we were just doing draft Kings, and that is Jon Gray, the Gray Wolf, the Wolf of Blake Street, the Dominator, the King out there at Coors Field.
Now 5th all-time strikeout leader for the Rockies.
Boom.
704 career strikeouts.
I think he'll be
Pretty
in
impressive.
second by the end of the year.
He's just got to get 39 more. I don't know. I can't do
That's
math.
doable. That seems doable. All right, so now we can move over to our most memorable moment of this series. Patrick, what you gonna remember when the season is over?
Well, I'm just going to take the whole game on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it will be more likely remembered for the fact that Ryan McMahon did hit those 3 home runs in 3 consecutive bats to open the game.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, he was going to have that opportunity for the 4th, and he did have numerous chances. He did hit the double, eventually in extra innings. But I think even just the game itself was huge, where Sam Hilliard hits the two-run home run late in the ball game. Don Nunez hit himself a home run, his 2nd of the year today, on Thursday. He has 3. He's already hit more home runs himself single-handedly than all Rockies catchers did in 2020. So let that sink in. And so that game was just this weird one back and forth. We had runners. Again, we had the California tiebreaker rule with the runner going on second base. So that just made every inning that much more intense. And we also learned a new rule because all of us in the press box couldn't figure out why Charlie Blackmon was on second base. We didn't realize it until he was thrown out because he didn't make the last out. It was someone else, and the pitcher spot was inserted in. And so basically if the pitcher makes the last out or the pitcher's spot makes the last out with the double switch, you don't have that spot in the batting order run the bases. So really it was 2 guys previously that ran the bases. So it happened for both sides. It happened for the Diamondbacks and the Rockies in back-to-back innings. So that was a new rule that I had yet to see. So that's been the longest game that the Rockies have played in this new safety protocol era, and might be the longest one that we see for a while. They had a couple games last year at 11. This year, or on Tuesday, it was 13. So for me, it's McMahon. It's the extra inning chaos, and it was the game ending right as the clock struck midnight. That's what I'm going to remember from this D-back series.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to agree with Patrick on Ryan McMahon. I mean, what a moment for that guy. It was cool to watch. Antonio Senzatela's performance yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. You really can't ask for anything more from a pitcher. And Jon Gray too. I mean, I want to be not too overhyped. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I genuinely am impressed with the Rockies so far this season. I think they're proving a lot of people wrong. I think they're gonna, win more games than a lot of people originally thought. I think the rotation that the Rockies have put together is really going to come through overall for this team. And I think a lot of the guys that people were undervaluing or underestimating in this lineup are going to prove people wrong, and they're going to show up in times when it's least expected. And I think it's going to provide for some really special moments this season. And I hope people now, after these past 2 series, are starting to get more on the Rockies train. And, obviously it's not going to be the same as it has been in the past without that one person on our roster, but I think it's still going to be, as you guys have said in the past, this is a team worth rooting for and a team worth cheering for, and there are people in this roster who deserve our support. And so I'm just excited to watch Rockies baseball for the rest of the season. And I mean, obviously that's easy for me to say because I'm a huge baseball person, but I think the Rockies are going to prove a lot of people wrong, and I'm excited for that.
I think you're thinking about the loss of the cousin.
The cousin, yeah.
Was that?
Yeah, that's even better. That's even better than, Josh's cousin. But now it's just the cousin.
The cousin. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, you're right, Mac. It's a team that, dare I say, puts a smile on your face. I know that your gorgeous smile is brought to all of us by our friends over at Green Mountain Dental. They're fantastic. They treat you like family. They take care of your teeth. And they'll hook you up with a free Sonicare toothbrush when you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam today. But Mac knows all this, not just in theory, because she's heard me say it like many of you have on this podcast several times. You've had the experience. They take care of you there.
I have, yes. I have been extremely fortunate to be a patient of Dr. Ben's at Green Mountain Dental. It is by far and away the best dental experience I have ever had in my young 24 years of life. I can't speak highly enough about that entire dental office and the whole experience. They really take care of you. They explain things to you that I've never had any dentist take the time out of his day to explain before. They always want to make sure you're on the same page as they are with your dental care. And I just can't recommend them enough. Even if they weren't a sponsor of ours, I would still go to Green Mountain Dental because it really genuinely has been an amazing dental experience. Dr. Ben filled 2 cavities for me, so I've put the trust of my teeth in Dr. Ben's hands, and he has not disappointed me. So if you have a dentist, leave them for Green Mountain Dental. If you don't have a dentist, go to Green Mountain Dental and tell them that DNVR sent you. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
She may not know Bruce Springsteen, but she knows
I
good
know
dentistry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, yeah, I agree that as much as it's funny because it was the loss in this set as the Rockies came out dominant in the second 2 games, very easily could have been a sweep, but I think the loss will be the most memorable part of this series. Patrick, like you said, it going so many innings after we're like, they keep putting a guy at second. This game should be over. And Rymack hitting all the home runs. So I think that gets on the list. I think it gets on the top 5 for the season. So that's when we have to figure this out. We had for our first series the home run that wasn't from Bellinger and Justin Turner playing his part in that. We had the cat. Of course.
The Coors Cat.
The Coors Cat. Andres, as they've decided to call him. Oh. There was the 4 home run inning where the Rockies went into it with no hits. Then we had some slightly less that I think were memorable for the time, maybe by the end of the season become a little bit less so. We had things like just opening day, I still think stays on the list because you kind of remember opening day. It's so special. They did happen to beat Kershaw. It was a nice memory.
Fans are back for the first time since 2019, so they get that added element.
100%, all that stuff. So the question is, because I think now this 13-inning game gets on the list. Is it in there at 5, or is it more memorable than the cat or opening day, or do we just stick it there at number 5 and go 13-inning game, back and forth, weird and interesting? Rymack hit several home runs. We'll remember it, but not as much as these other things. What do we think?
I think it's more memorable than opening day because we know opening day happens every year, has an opening day, but what about it makes it stand out? I think we're going to remember, the 3 home run game, it being extra innings. You might even throw in the double delays where we had the water fountain delay out in center field, and we also had Dom Nunez needing nail polish.
Right.
Those were 2 delays within the same game.
Nail polish.
Yeah, just made the whole Dodgers series just absolutely bonkers. But I think we're going to remember, McMahon's 3 homer game and the extra inning game. And at some point in the year, we're not even going to remember them as being the same game. We're just going to go, wait a minute, that was the same day?
Right.
Yes, it was. So I would put it ahead of opening day.
I don't know. Opening day was so great for me. The fact that the Rockies, literally the underdog of the National League West, beat the Dodgers on opening day on national television, just made my life. I kind of peaked in that moment, I think. But, I mean, obviously, the Rymack's performance was a special one. But it feels so good to beat the Dodgers that it's hard for me to pick against that.
Let me ask something truly controversial of the panel then. Do we need to move the cat down? The cat was memorable. The cat was lovely. I'm a huge cat person. I love my cat.
I love cats too.
We had a fun time coming up with Troy Tulomiowski and
I hadn't heard that one.
Harry Walker.
My favorite, and it gets more of a visual, is C.A. Tomayhew. That's really out there on a brand. Yeah, I
C.A. Tomayhew. Wow.
C.A. Tomayhew.
We all had fun with it.
It's a thinker.
Do we need to move the cat down the power ranking of memorable moments?
It's annoying, but it's okay. I'm okay with it staying where it's at now. It's like we're not going to forget it. It will never be forgotten. But do we want to really have to remember it as one of the best things that have happened this year? That's really the question.
I mean, since when the cat came on the field, Trevor Story went 0 for 14 until today. So I feel like the cat is like a bad omen.
Curse.
We should just not.
Curse of the cat. Okay. Well, can we? Okay. So I still think the home run that wasn't still is the number one memory of the season, right?
Yeah.
Clearly.
No doubt. Number 1.
So we're fine with that. Then number 2 was the 4 home runs in an inning.
Following a no-hitter, yeah.
Then it gets a little jumbled in there. That's when we go, is it still Cat? We move Cat down in favor of the 13-inning game where Rymack hits 3 home runs, they still lose.
I'm with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Sure.
Okay, so let's put that third, Cat fourth, opening day.
By the way, all of the proceeds that I make, I don't want to speak for you two, but all the proceeds I make from this episode of the post-game DNVR Rockies podcast show will be donated to PETA. So I am in favor of moving the Cat down.
But only
I'm going to donate to that cause.
That's right.
I say Cat 5th, opening day 4th, but
what do you think? Is that controversial? Are we going to lose?
Are
we going to lose the comments?
we have some cat stands in the comments, so don't come for me. I love cats. I have a cat, but I think opening day was a little bit more special than the cat on the field.
Rally Cat is still their Twitter pick.
Yeah. They're big fans of Gerardo Perrara.
Oh my gosh.
Naphy Perez. Garrett Catkins.
You guys are just on a roll with those cats.
Brad
That's two on the list.
Pop.
Nice one, Tech Boy.
All right. Yeah, I think we got to put Cat in fifth. I think the good thing about Cat in fifth is that it's a very clear marker you have to pass, right? There's now like you have to be more memorable than the Cat to make the list. And I think that's a pretty solid designation for our top five. I know, I'm just making stuff up.
I'll say this about our list is that at the end of this season, actually, so I was talking with Owen Perkins on Tuesday, and it was, I think MLB did a piece where it was like the most interesting thing that happened over the weekend, and you got like, hey, JT Realmuto, just the best catcher, behind the plate for the Phillies, and Akil Baddoo, check him out, Tigers prospect that they took in the Rule 5 draft, and all these things. And then for the Rockies, it was a cat ran out onto the field, and it was like, you're not even going to talk about the baseball team and what they were able to do. So I think national media is probably going to remember this cat story for all 162, and it's going to feature pretty prominently. But for us and what we do, for the hardcores that are out there listening and watching this live right now, we're going to talk about baseball stuff. And so, the Cat's number 5.
Thank you. Finally. Reason prevails. Thank God.
So be ready for the hate mail from all the cat lovers out there. Send it all to Michaela at the DNVR.
No, do not. I love cats, but like, how can you put a cat above beating the Dodgers on national television? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, but maybe I'm just biased.
No, I like that. I've got to agree with you on that one. And like you said, so far it's just been, well, they're not terrible. They're not yet. It's
been interesting. It's been exciting. It's been compelling.
They're not even last place in the National League West. So,
well, that was another funny thing I saw developing today was a few people that wanted to kind of poo-poo this series from the Rockies and them looking pretty good by saying, it was the Diamondbacks though, and they're terrible. I was like, no, wait.
It counts for something.
When you're supposed to be the worst team in baseball, or at least the worst team,
not just in the National League West, in baseball.
Yeah, and then there's 2 other teams in your division where you feel like we can beat those guys, and they got the next one coming up.
They're 1 game back from the Giants. They could finish 3rd place in the National League West if everything goes according to plan.
Right. So, worst team in baseball or 3rd worst team in their own division. Like, we're going to find out. I don't know. Things to hang your hat on, right? Well, hey, you can get this DNVR hat sometimes for a little bit of a discount if you're a member of the family. Make sure to become a member of the DNVR family. We got written content out the wazoo. That's right. That's a technical term. It's coming out the wazoo. We got written content on everything for you these days. More and more stuff coming for you. breaking down the team from every different angle. Plus, when you become a member of the family, you get a bigger beer when you come down to the DNVR bar. You get discounts on hats, shirts, and masks. You get access to the Discord channel. You can come hang out with us, chat baseball 24/7 or WrestleMania. That's coming up. I know Michaela's got all of her
Huge
thoughts.
WrestleMania girl. I am so excited. I am ready for WrestleMania.
She's ready for John
Unfortunately,
Cena.
the Bella twins are not going to.
Darn.
Be
That's the only reason I was watching. Rats.
So you can get all of Mac's thoughts on WrestleMania, though she has far more thoughts on Chris Owings. So
My guy.
that's what you get when you come down. There's like a food channel, a skiing, snowboarding channel. It's a family. That's what it is. We're always talking to each other about everything. Join us on the YouTube so you don't miss any of these live post games when we go, and any of the fantastic graphic work done by Tech Boy and the rest of the production team here. Really do appreciate all that work. You've just got to become a member of that family. Join us at the DNVR.com today. Remember, when you sign up for the annual, you get a free t-shirt and you get a free holistic stick from our friends at Holistic Wellness. That's HOLISTIK wellness.com. Final thoughts on the series as we wrap this thing up and the Rockies head out to San Francisco for, again, 3 straight day games.
My eyes have yet to bleed from watching this team, and that's good for me and my eyes.
The Rockies' breaking news are not as bad as you all thought they were going to be.
Boom. I second that. I thank you all for hanging out with us. Remember to follow everyone on social media, subscribe, do all that fantastic stuff. We appreciate you all for continuing to be absolutely awesome out there. I promise you that we will continue to be absolutely Patrick Lyons, Michaela Perkins, Tech Boy Kale Sorbo, and Drew Kreisman in here. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.